Now that we have completed the registration process for the Idaho State Department of Agriculture's hemp application program, we can now begin filling out our hemp applications. Once we've accessed the hemp application, we have two options. We have the producer application option and the handler option. For today's demonstration purposes, we'll be using a producer application. To access a producer application, simply select the producer icon. Once we've accessed the producer icon, we can then begin filling out the application. In the business section, users can implement or input their business information into the following text fields. The Idaho State Department of Agriculture will have already assigned you a license number. This will appear here in a grayed out box. The application year in which you are applying will also show up automatically in a grayed out box. If an applicant has applied for a license in a previous year and is logged in to create another application, they can simply click here to fill out the form from a previous year's application to automatically populate all of their information. Once they've entered their business information, users can then proceed throughout the application. In the next section, users enter the lab information to which they have an agreement or a working relationship with. This lab will be the lab that ISDA submits samples to upon the user's request. If the applicant does not have a lab in mind or an agreement in place at this time, the applicant may fill out the lab information on their application at a later date. To move forward with the application, simply select Proceed and Add Participants. Then select the Add Key Participant button. This gives us the information to start entering our key participants for our license. If this is the primary contact, simply select the drop-down box and pick the appropriate designation for the person that we are about to implement. In this case, we're going to put a primary contact in. We'll then enter their first and last name and select Save. Now that we have their first and last name in, we'll then enter a phone number for them. We can select the appropriate phone number for which if it's for their office, a cell phone, or a fax. In this case, we're going to select cell phone. We implemented their phone number, and we're going to add a good email address for them. Now we've entered their first and last name, their phone number, and their email address. We can now upload their background check documents. To do so, simply select the Upload Background Check Documents. We can now drag, drop, or search any sort of PDF document or JPEG into the following box. In this example, we've now uploaded our PDF background check for John Smith. To get out of this page, we simply select Close and then Close again. To verify that the information was saved and input, we can go back and check all the categories to make sure we filled out everything appropriately. In this case, we have the primary contact, the first and last name, the phone number, the email, and then the file that we uploaded. To see the file that we uploaded, we simply select the number. In this case, we have John Smith's background check. The date in which we added or modified it, and then obviously this delete button over here. In the event we want to add key participants to our application, we can simply select Add Key Participant, select Additional, and then repeat the process. Once we've implemented all of our key participants, we can now move to the lot information section. To add a lot, we'll simply select the Add Lot button. Now that we've selected the Add Lot button, we've noticed there are a blue question mark icon here with the designation for help. In the event users need additional information about something, they can simply select these icons throughout the application for additional information. This will prompt a PDF to show up within your browser and provide you information and examples of what is expected or what is required for this section. Once we begin filling out our lot information, we can select our intended usage from the drop-down menu. If there is intended usage that is not listed here, users can fill it out in the following text box. If a producer is intending to grow transplants for wholesale, they'll select the following icon. It's important to note that producers that are growing transplants for wholesale will be required to possess a handler's license. In the event that producers are growing transplants for on-farm usage, they'll select the on-farm usage box. They will then be prompted to fill out the initial and final growing locations for those transplants. If a farm is doing neither of those, they do not need to select the following options. They can proceed forward with their lot name and the variety grown for their hemp product. They can select the growing area status, which we have the following two options from the drop-down menu of owned or leased. This represents if you own or are leasing the following property in which you are growing this lot. Next, we have the growing area. We have the indoor square footage or outdoor acreage, all of which must be accounted for. In this example, we're going to be inputting our outdoor acreage in which we are growing. We will then implement the address of the exact growing location of our 3.75 acres. We select our county. Next, we have our latitude and longitude. This is the geospatial location for this field which we were referencing here within this lot. If we were at the exact location that we are filling this information out, users might simply select the get current location. This will automatically put the geospatial coordinates into the application for the user. If a user is not at the exact location for which they're growing, they will need to manually enter the information. Once they've entered that following information, users can simply select the Save button. Once they've selected the Save button, we're presented with additional options. The first option being Open Map. This would allow users to open Google Earth to get a reference on where they're filling out, move their cursor, find their designated area to get the geospatial coordinates required. You'll also notice here is a blue question mark with another help designation. Users can access that and generate a PDF document within the browser. In this example, we have acceptable map programs that ISDA has put together for applicants to utilize in order to correctly fill out a map and designate the appropriate growing areas. The following image is strictly an example. There is no industrial hemp grown, stored, or processed at any of these locations or facilities. This is strictly for reference. In this example, we have our several growing locations in which we have already labeled. You will notice in the growing locations, we have properly identified the name of the field, the GPS coordinates, the type of field in which it is, and the amount of acreage. We have our farm information up here in the upper right-hand corner. In the event we were growing in a facility and implemented the square footage, we would list something similar to the location ID over here. In the lower left-hand corner, we have our GPS location coordinates, storage, and the amount of square footage. Once we have our maps created and properly identified, we can select the Upload Growing Map button. This will now generate a box for us to drag, search, or drop a JPEG, PDF, or document of our map. Now that we've uploaded our map for our lot, you'll notice there's two options here, one with an X and one with a check mark. The image with the X here shows that it is simply too big to be inserted into this document. If it has a check, that means that this map was accepted into the program. Once we've input our map into the program, we select the Close button. This will now show the lot number which we input the information, all the categories in which we filled out, and we were able to review the files in which we uploaded by simply clicking on the number. We have our date added and modified, and lastly, the delete icon. We can now add as many lots as we'd like by simply selecting the Add Lot button and repeating the information. Upon the conclusion of entering all of the additional lot information, users may save the producer application and head to the pay screen, or in the event they were wanting to fill out a handler's application, they may do so by selecting the handler's application button. This includes the producer application.